Today I'm going to introduce you to the skeletal muscles by explaining how muscles are named.
So there are over 600 muscles in the body, but don't worry, we're only going to focus on the major skeletal muscles and the superficial ones. Muscles are grouped by function and location, and when we study the muscle, it's important that we know its location relative to other muscles, but also identify the bone attachments. The attachments are the origin and insertion. So a quick review. Muscles are attached in at least two places. These attachments are usually the bone. One is labeled an insertion and the other one an origin. So here's an image of a muscle. Um, there are two bone attachments. One would be the humerus, and then the other one is the ulna. So based on the definition I just gave, which one is the origin and which one is the insertion? You can see the muscle contracting here. It's shortening, and it's pulling the ulna towards the humerus. The ulna is the one that's moving, therefore the ulna is the insertion. The fixed bone is the origin. Here's another example. This is the pectoralis major muscle. Bone attachments, you could see it's attached to the humerus, it's attached to the sternum, the ribs, and also the clavicle. So the bone that moves would be the humerus, that will be there for your insertion, and the rest are fixed, so those are all your origins. One more example, this muscle is known as the sternocleidomastoid. Let's look at the bone attachments. There's one right there that is the mastoid process, and then you have an attachment on the clavicle, and then an attachment on the sternum. So based on the previous example, I want you to picture, you imagine this muscle shortening, contracting. Now, what bone will move towards what bone, and therefore what is the insertion and what is the origin? So let's go back. When we study muscle, aside from knowing origin and insertions, we have to know its actions. And again, even if you don't memorize that, if you know the insertion and the origin, you could just imagine the insertion moving towards the origin. Also, in a typical anatomy and physiology class, we have to name the major nerve or the innervation of a muscle. So how are muscles named? To help us remember the 600 muscles. These are the different criteria we use in naming muscles. Let's look at our first location. We're going to go back to the body regions lecture. So each region of the body is named such, and muscles are named based on that location. Let's pick an easy example right here, abdomen. Okay, so the inferior half of the anterior trunk is known as the abdomen. Guess what? There are muscles named based on that location. For example, your six pack, rectus abdominis. So it's named abdominis because of location. So let's look at another criterion, the shape of the muscle. For example, deltoid. Deltoid is a shape, delta, which means it's a triangle. So as you can see, this image points to a triangular muscle, and they just named it deltoid. Another one is this muscle, trapezius. So they named it because it's trapezoid in shape. And there are many more that you will see in a little bit. So what else? Muscles are named according to size. So when you see the words maximus, that's big, minimus, small, major, minor, longus, um, those all pertain to size. So here is our example, gluteus minimus, gluteus medius, and of course there's a gluteus maximus, which is the large muscle in the buttocks area. Next criterion, direction of muscle fibers or fascicles. So we have names here that pertain to direction, like rectus means straight, vertical, transversus is across or horizontal, oblique is diagonal. So here's an example that we have, transversus abdominis. There you go. It was named because of location, and transversus because the muscle fibers run across or horizontal. Here's another one according to direction of fibers, orbicularis oculi. The oculi there pertain to the eye, which is the location, but the orbicularis pertains to the direction of the muscle fiber, which is around, like an orbit. Orbicularis, around, orbit. Our next criterion would be the number of origins. So it's a number, so you will see the prefixes bi, which means 2, tri, 3, and quadri, which means 4. So here's an example. We have here biceps brachii. This muscle is made up of 2 divisions, okay, or it has 2 origins actually. Then we have the quadriceps femoris. In the femur, in the thigh area, you have this big muscle that's made up of 4 actually. So it has 4 divisions as displayed here in different colors, the red, the green, the yellow, and the blue. Next is muscles are named according to the location of attachments. So going back according to origin and insertion. Same example. This is the sternocleidomastoid. Why was it named? Because the origin is the sternum and the clavicle. So sterno and clado. And the insertion is the mastoid process of the temporal bone. So sternocleidomastoid, the name is because of the insertions and the origins and the insertions. Next, we have the last criterion in naming the muscles, and that is muscle action. So you may see words like flexor, extensor, abductor, adductor. Here you go. Adductor magnus. Magnus meaning it's big, but it also adducts. If you remember from a previous lecture, adduct. To adduct is to bring a body part to the middle of the body. Here's another example, flexor carpi radialis. Flexor, because the action of this muscle is to flex. Flex what? Well, you see carpi right there, so it flexes the wrist, because carpi or carpal pertains to wrist. One more example, I have here the extensor digiti minimi. So it extends, like if you are looking at my camera right now, it extends the digiti minimi, the small digit right there. So I just use my extensor digiti minimi. So those are our major criteria in naming the muscles, and several criteria can be combined. Like again, pectoralis major, it was named because of location and size. Transversus abdominis because of the direction of fibers and location. Abductor digiti minimi because of action and location. Extensor carpi radialis longus. It sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Extensor carpi radialis longus. So extensor is action, location is there, and the shape of the muscle is also in the name. And here's a big one. Levator labii superioris alacae nasi. Not that it's not a major muscle, but again, I'm trying to explain how muscles are named. This is your levator labii superioris alacae nasi. How was it named, or why did it name it such? Levator, it lifts or elevates. It lifts the upper lip. You can see there labii superioris, upper lip. You could also see that it is attached to the nose. That's nasi, nasal nose. Ala is the wing, so the wing or the nostril. The action of this muscle is to lift the upper lip and at the same time flare the nostrils. Complicated name, but they have to find something to name a muscle. There's over 600, so that's it. So let's look at more superficial muscles right here and how they are named. Right there, adductor longus, we did that. Pectoralis minor, so it's a smaller version of the muscle in the chest wall. Levator scapulae, it elevates or lifts the scapula, so shrugging your shoulders. Triceps brachii, brachii means upper arm. Triceps means 3, so it has 3 divisions. Rhomboid, that muscle was named because of the shape, the rhomboid shape. And then we have tibialis anterior. Why? Because it's located in front of the tibial bone. Okay. And lastly, gastrocnemius. Now this one's different. They named it because it's shaped like a stomach. The word gaster or gastro pertains to the stomach. So it's like the stomach in the calf or in the posterior portion of the leg. So that's it. That's how muscles are named. And to help us learn all the skeletal muscles, learn from what information is there in the name of the muscle. Read the description, identify it on a figure, on a model, on a picture, relate the location and description, relate the attachments to the actions, move your insertions to your origins, and then act it out and move those bones, contract those muscles on yourself.